Greetings, my friends. Time to check in once again on the domestic box office and update our fantasy box office league, which we're doing all summer long. And we had an enormous movie open this weekend, Jurassic World Rebirth, which over the extended 5-day weekend earned $147 million. This was the draft pick of Drooby Dooby's movies. It was the third overall pick, and I thought I'd refresh everybody about the top three picks. First overall pick was Superman, drafted by Captain Hot Dog, and the second overall pick was Fantastic Four, picked by Screen Time Coda. When we did the draft, Drooby Dooby's movies actually wasn't there attending the draft. He let me make the pick for him, and I, with my visionary mind, I can see the future. I'm very brave and bold to pick the big dinosaur movie that where each one of these is an enormous hit. So, you know, good job by me. This series is huge. I'll get into that in a second. Smash Trivia John was telling me, like, this franchise is huge, and yet it feels like nobody online talks about it, or nobody, like, in, film talk spaces talks about it. I think he's right. I know that it's, like, impossible to measure something like that. Although I will say, I think that for people my age, in my late 30s, I think Jurassic Park, the movie, is like the movie. It is like the biggest, most popular movie. It's more popular than Star Wars. It's more popular than any other giant movie for people my age. But because the franchises, the series that people tend to talk about online usually have like long mythology, dense lore, detailed characters, Jurassic Park has none of that. It's just fun dinosaurs. And I think that the people who see the movie, they're glad to go out and see it, and then they never think about it again until 3 years later there is another Jurassic Park movie. That's exactly what happened. Let's look at the past 3 Jurassic World movies. 10 years ago, Jurassic World opens with $208 million. This was only the second movie ever to open to $200 million domestically. The first was The Avengers in 2012. Obviously, this isn't adjusted for inflation. Okay, so 208, that's the biggest in the series. 3 years later, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in 2018 opens to $148 million. That is just about even with the new movie. And then in 2022, Jurassic World Dominion opens with $145 million. 3 years after that, Jurassic World Rebirth gets $147 million. This thing is the steadiest money printing franchise. When we did our draft, I said, this is like a United States Treasury bond, just a safe and steady investment. Congratulations, Drooby Dooby's movies. Number 2, F1, the movie, made $26 million, and its domestic total now stands at $110 million. I drafted this thing. I also went and saw this movie and thought it was terrific. You really ought to see this movie if you can in a movie theater. I was grateful it was still in IMAX because the theater, the whole thing, the controversy with F1 getting IMAX over Jurassic World, I was happy that I got to see this instead of Jurassic World in IMAX. Number 3, How to Train Your Dragon, drafted by Cinematic Joshua, got $11 million in its fourth week for a $224 million total. Next up was number 4, Elio, the Pixar movie that continues to flail. This was also drafted by Cinematic Joshua, got $5.7 million in its third week for $55 million total. And, Disney was trying to spin this as like, well, you remember Elemental from 2 years ago, Pixar's, original movie Elemental. That didn't open strongly, but it became like a sleeper hit. Ended up with $154 million domestic. It opened to $29 million, which is still a lot more than this one did. And then let's see where it was in its third week. Yeah, by its third week, Elemental had made $100 million. So it was clear that thing had legs in a way that Elio does not. So Elio, just a bad, all-time bad bummer for Pixar. But number 5, 28 years later, in its third week, made $4.6 million for a $60 million total, drafted by Jen Walks Into Walls. Number 6, Blumhouse's big old flop, Megan 2.0, drafted by Drooby Dooby's movies. In its second week, it only made $3.8 million, $19 million total. Jason Blum had to come out and say, yeah, we fucked up. Sorry. We didn't give people the movie they wanted. Number 7. Hey, I forgot to mention this. We just covered the movie Tooth Fairy on Load Bearing Beams, and that movie is technically a Blumhouse movie. That was produced by Jason Blum under the Blumhouse, by his production studio, Blumhouse. Number 7, Lilo and Stitch, $3.8 million in its 7th week, drafted by Neophyte Reviews, $409 million total. Number 8, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning had $3.3 million for a $191 million total in its 7th week. Number 9 was Materialists, which made $1.3 million for a $34 million total in its 4th week, drafted by Neophyte Reviews. And 10th place at the box office, the reissue of This Is Spinal Tap, made $1 million. I'd love to see This Is Spinal Tap at a movie theater. Don't think I'll get a chance to. Let's update the standings. Holding strong at number 1 is Neophyte Reviews with $442 million. Cinematic Joshua, second place, $294 million. Third place is Jen Walks Into Walls with $270 million. Drooby Dooby Movies rockets up the charts to number 4 with $166 million. Smash Trivia John in 5th place with $116 million, followed in 6th place by Load Bearing Beams with $110 million. And then we got Screen Time Coda and Captain Hot Dog. Meanwhile, we're waiting for Patrick Pro and Spooky T to chart. Their movies haven't opened yet. As a reminder, we give out prizes for first place with $50, $30 for second place, $20 for third place, and then $20 for last place. Coming up next weekend, Superman opens July 11th. This was the first overall pick, drafted by Captain Hot Dog. I wanted to just quickly go through the Superman's recent history in the 21st century. You know, Superman, the original superhero, and the original superhero movie. Superman was a giant movie in 1978, but how has it fared in a world where other superhero movies actually exist as well? Well, in 2006, Superman Returns, a great movie, opened to $53 million. On its way to $200 million total, although less than $400 million worldwide. It was a disappointment, failed to launch the series that they were hoping it would launch. But again, great movie. I really love that movie, despite it being directed by a monster. 2013 Man of Steel opened to $117 million, on its way to $291 million and $670 million worldwide. Now, that was solid, but Warner Brothers needed it to be a Dark Knight level hit, especially because Christopher Nolan was no longer making Dark Knight movies anymore. And they had big plans to launch a big franchise, so they just said, okay, yeah, this is a win. We'll launch a franchise off of it. My point is, Superman, as the lead of a movie, he's not set the world on fire this century. I'm very curious to see how this movie does. And also, we haven't seen a James Gunn movie that isn't a Guardians movie, a big James Gunn movie, open like in normal times. Because the Suicide Squad opened in 2021 during like a weird COVID variant. Also, it premiered on HBO Max at the same time. Because of stupid Hollywood decisions, it made $56 million at the box office. That's also a movie I adore. Anyway, I'm very curious to see how Superman does, and we'll talk about it in a week. Goodbye, everybody.